Meeting of November 2nd, 2023 is called to order. Present at today's meeting are
Kate Auetter.
Nicole Fragnito.
Cynthia Carter.
Jeff Romano.
Kyle Gregory.
Thank you. The first order of business is to accept the minutes of October 12th, 2023. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any changes, modifications? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. The board will now conduct the public hearing on today's agenda. First, the applicant or the applicant's representative will be invited to describe the proposed scope of work and to present any material or documentation regarding the proposal to the board. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor of the proposal will be given an opportunity to address the board. Then persons who wish to speak in opposition will be allowed to address the board. Finally, the applicant or a representative will be given the opportunity to make closing comments to the board. Following each public hearing, the board may vote to approve, approve with conditions, or deny the application just heard. The board may also decide to hold its decision until the next public hearing. If the hearing is closed, no additional information will be allowed into the record, except for information that the board may request. That information will be made available to the public review with board staff. Staff will now introduce the first application. Kate?
The first and only public hearing this morning actually is for CA 2327, which is a certificate of appropriateness for 945 Comstock Avenue, which is located in the Berkeley Park Preservation District. The scope of work includes exterior rehabilitation of the house, partial demolition or partial demolition, and that would be the garage, as well as site work, including a parking area in the rear of the property. And,
Okay, so the applicant can come forward and make a presentation.
Actually, I think we'll go for the, yeah.
Members of the board, my name is Daniel Manning. I'm an architect in Syracuse, New York, and I'm here with Paul Williams, the architect and designer of record for 945 Comstock Ave.
Give us your address.
My address, my office is 225 Wilkinson Street, Suite 104, Syracuse, New York, 13204.
Thank you.
We had an informal presentation to the board. It wasn't a quorum, and it wasn't formal, and I think it was about 3 weeks ago. And at that time, the board made a number of recommendations that we have resubmitted to Kate, and I will go through those with you. Paul Williams will also, he brought a sample of the window that we're proposing to utilize. As we discussed in the last meeting, this is an existing single-family home on the corner of Acorn Path and Comstock. It's currently 9 bedrooms. There was a water leak in which the water ran for a long period of time, and the building had been vacated for some period of time. Since then, the building has been completely gutted, and it stands gutted right now. The owner is proposing to restore the entire interior and exterior with 6 bedrooms. There is also a 1-story masonry garage which will be demolished on Acorn Path, and a new parking lot, on-site parking lot, would be constructed in the rear yard for 5 cars of about 1,500 square feet. The current lot is a little over 12,000 square feet, and the footprint of the house is a little over 1,400 square feet. When we looked, the board's recommendation was that we maintain the perpendicular parking on Acorn Path. The city, we discussed this with the city of Syracuse, the new zoning regulations in effect of March of 2023, and they do not allow any parking in the required setbacks. Acorn Path is considered a front yard setback as well as Comstock. So we resubmitted the parking off of the required front yard setbacks, 5 cars without any removal of trees. So it is set into the rear yard with any removal of trees. And we feel because Acorn Path is not much wider than an alley, that it would be more friendly to the neighbors not to have cars sticking into the circulation path. Again, the roof is being replaced with architectural shingles. The existing trim and the wood shakes are being restored. The front portico is being completely restored in kind. We also took the board's recommendation and reinstalled all the windows back into the sunroom on the north side of the property, the one-story sunroom. Since the last meeting, Paul has submitted the owner's desired color palette, which I believe you have as well. The proposal is now for 6 bedrooms with an entrance, the main entrance retained under the front portico, and secondary entrances from the parking garage would enter into the home through the rear of the home and through laundry room. That's about it.
Okay, do you want to present the window?
Sure, Paul.
Yeah. So this is, one of the options is a Marvin
Excuse me.
The material there?
Adding.
It's like it. How many windows are we talking about to be replaced total?
46.
46? You have the dimensions of the mullions on the existing windows as opposed to there? Okay. We just don't know the width of the mullions.
Excellent. Right.
Okay. So what's your intention with that?
The hip roof.
All right. Okay, good. Next, we'll go of who wants to speak in favor of this application. Let the record show there's no one here to speak in favor of the application. So now we'll go to those who want to speak in opposition. Anybody who wants to speak, please give us your name and your address and come to the microphone. And I do want to caution, or I do want to inform that we have had several letters that the board has received regarding this in opposition. And I want to caution people, I will not take any comments regarding use or zoning. It is not the jurisdiction of this board. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Christine Capella Peters. I live at 126 Circle Road in the Berkeley Park Historic District. And I am proposed to the scope of work specific to the parking lot. Berkeley Park was listed as an excellent local example of an early 20th century residential subdivision. And if one looks at the original developer's purpose and intent, as well as the original features, parking lots have nothing to do with the historic significance or historic design of Berkeley Park. This particular parking lot chews away at the backyard of this property, and that is just simply inappropriate given this particular historic district. I'd go one step further and say that in looking at the criteria, you have to apply the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. The specific subset of that document, the guidelines for the treatment of cultural landscapes, would point to the fact that a parking lot simply is an inappropriate new addition to this property. I know that there'll probably be an argument made that there's quite a bit of paving in the neighborhood already, and much of that existed before the preservation district was formed. That means that those inappropriate elements were acknowledged, but it certainly also means that they shouldn't be repeated now that the district has been put in place. So I'd encourage you on that component alone to not approve the certificate of appropriateness. And while I appreciate Mr. Manning's thought that the interior of the property is being restored, it was never a 9-bedroom house. It was always a 4-bedroom house with a 3rd floor maid's quarters. There was never a 1st floor bedroom, and it's truly a shame that you don't get to comment on the interior. I am thankful, though, that they're putting the windows back in their proposal for the north side of the sun porch. I think that that's really important. But the parking lot, in and of itself, in concept, is just inappropriate. Also, there's no detail in the form of a grading plan to truly assess any other physical impacts to topography, vegetation, or general character. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Stanton. I'm president of the Southeast University Neighborhood Association. Last night, our board of directors gave me unanimous approval to...
And your address, sir?
315 Berkeley Drive. I'm a block and a half up the hill from this house. Our board gave me unanimous approval to oppose all of the changes being made here today. Let me show you here. This is a map from 1953.
We can share. We can share. Thank you.
You can see in the bottom left corner, just above Acorn Path, the house we're talking about here today, and the garage. It's been there for a long time. It should be given the same protection as the house itself. As Chris Capella-Peters mentions, the historic district was developed to prevent exactly the sorts of things you're being asked to do here today. We've seen so many houses in the neighborhood where garages have been torn down to make way for parking lots at the back. The object obviously is to bring in as many students as you can to make the property as profitable as you can. The fact that there are going to be 6 bedrooms and they're requesting 6 parking spots indicates that they intend to operate the house illegally because the city allows no more than 5 unrelated adults in a house. The new rezone requires no off-street parking for houses like this, so the existing 2-car garage should be more than adequate. And I hope that you will, in your deliberations, keep in mind that that area, as you just heard, on the edge of Acorn Path, is not allowed for parking. It's in the setback, and the city code has cited the property multiple times for parking along that area. In fact, they've come in and put in sawhorses to prevent anybody from parking in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else looking to speak in opposition of the application?
Yeah, I'm Donald Peters. I live at 126 Circle Road, just around the corner from the house in question. My concern is along the lines of the parking as well, and capacity of the buildings, obviously. My concern is that as we look at the area, it is considered a residential neighborhood. And I feel that anytime we expand parking and make it look more of a commercial type of operation, it becomes a commercial operation. And I would strongly urge the city, and I know this is not the venue for this, but we should treat commercial property different from residential property with respect to taxation. And I just get concerned as we allow this to continue and expand, the residential life in the area will be impacted.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else looking to speak in opposition? Let the record show, no, there's no one else. The applicant now has an opportunity to respond if you so desire.
Yes, I would just say, if you look at it, I think that site plan.
S3?
And I think by removing the concrete block garage, you're going to add green space to the adjacent space on Acorn. And then there are no trees to be removed to place this proposed parking on that rear east boundary line. It's directly adjacent to the other properties that share that east property line, the two properties that back up to it. It's basically, it's been let go a bit, so it's overgrown, and there is parking for those other homes, those other residences on that, coming off of Circle Drive, I believe it is. Yeah, so I thought it was a better solution than maintaining these parking spaces on Acorn. One of the issues is if you're parked in those spaces there, as you back out onto Acorn, and if you have any sort of a solid vehicle next to you, like even a van or a pickup truck or whatever, you have to back onto Acorn far enough so that you're actually in the lane before you can see whether traffic's coming or not. I don't think it's a great situation. The concrete block garage that's there is it's not a great looking building or addition to the house. I would also say that it's really not adequate in terms of if you open the garage doors, the width is so narrow that I don't even know if you could get out of the current, a modern car. And it's just not a great situation. I would hate to see those garage doors left open so people could pull into those spaces. That block building is actually in the setback. But given that that area is a little bit low in that backyard area, I think it, would be easy to screen from both the house and the street. The view would be improved over what's there. It's not so much about creating a parking space as it is about, beautification of that property and removing that. I mean, if you look at the photographs, that garage addition is not attractive in any way.
Drawing S2 indicates design intent prior to submission for a building permit. There'd be full topographical and drainage information on how the parking lot would be taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Is that all you've got to offer at this point? Okay. Okay, seeing there's no other information on this particular application at the time, I move that the hearing be closed. Okay. Going forward, I would ask the board to, we'll put this in discussion after we have some new business. We've got a large agenda here. So there is no old business, so I'm going to move on to new business, 2 applications of new business, and then we'll discuss the certificate of appropriateness. So SR-23-7, site plan review of 1024 to 1124 Court Street, the former Maria Regina College. Does that applicant want to come forward?
Thank you.
Okay, while you're setting up, if some of the members want to give us their name and address.
Good morning. Dan Brock with Law Associates. I'm the civil engineer, civil project manager for the project. I'm here tonight with Lindsay Allen from Home Leasing, a developer for the project. Also here with me is Brian and Ivan Hansen from Architect Team, located in Syracuse. They can give you the address. The project architects for the project.
Thank you.
So today to discuss a proposed project at Maria Regina campus located at 2500 Court Street, corner of Grant and Court near Kirkpatrick's. We're proposing a affordable housing project on the existing campus. With the team that we have here today, I know we'll keep it short so we can open it up for questions. I can present anything that has to do with any of the site work, parking, any of the anything we're dealing with the city right now. Brian and Ivan can talk to the buildings, and I thought I'd have Lindsay give you a brief description as far as how the project came to be and the project moving forward.
Okay.
Good morning, Lindsay Allen from Home Leasing. Our address is 75 South Clinton Avenue, Suite 700 in Rochester, New York, 14604, I believe. We are redeveloping this campus into an affordable community for seniors. Proposed are 181 apartments across 5 of the 6 historic buildings on the campus. The image that I provided here just shows you sort of a campus key from a historical perspective. When the buildings were constructed, some of the dates of those additions, and the building that we are not proposing to redevelop for housing is the chapel that's on the bottom left side of that image. We do have a very interested organization that is currently, we have a letter of intent for them to take over the campus, or to the chapel. So in reality, at the end of the day, the entire campus will be fully redeveloped and active once again.
Continue ownership of the chapel.
I'm sorry?
You're going to continue ownership of the chapel?
The plan right now is to subdivide a parcel that currently contains the chapel. So it's historically connected to the campus, but it would be legally separated from the rest of the campus. So as you know, it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The project is pursuing state and federal historic tax credits. So all of the rehabilitation work is going to meet the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. The SHPO has been on site with us a couple times to walk through and discuss important character defining features and some of the more complex issues that we have to solve to both rehabilitate the deteriorating campus and also to repurpose it for a residential use. Other important sources of funding include low-income housing tax credits through the New York State Housing Finance Agency, who's going to provide those tax credits and some additional subsidy, and we're continuing to pull together our financing package still. It's a very large, very difficult campus, so it's taking a bit of time to pull all the pieces together. But as you know, it's come through, there's been a lot of proposals for the site. It's very difficult to redevelop, and we are working very hard to make sure that we balance the rehabilitation to mitigate the blight that's on this large block in a residential neighborhood and to provide much needed affordable housing to the seniors in Syracuse. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn it over to our architects to discuss a couple of the details here today.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ivan Hansen. I'm an architect with the Architect Team, the architect on the project. So I'm going to go through.
Address, please.
Oh yes, 614 James Street, Suite 200. I'll go through a couple of the major changes to the buildings that we're proposing. So if you look at the board. Okay, so this is what we call the convent school and the library addition. The convent school is a 1902 building, and I believe the library was built in the late 50s, early 60s. Both those buildings, we're proposing to turn those into residential units. In order to do so, we're proposing an elevator addition in between the two buildings. And this top image here. So we have the existing conditions that was taken earlier this week from Court Street. And then here we have a visualization of the proposed elevator addition. That is the only view set where the new elevator tower is visible from Court Street, the front elevation of the library, and then as you move further north, the elevator tower are blocked from view due to existing buildings. Also on this building, the current conditions of the convent school, the fenestration is composed of aluminum awning windows on the bottom, the glass block up above. That was I guess kind of a modification to the original, which was mostly double hung windows. So we're proposing to reintroduce the double hung windows that you would see on the original convent school. Yeah, this is a
Those will
1920.
be what? Are they going to be aluminum clad or? Okay.
Can you point out in the site plan where this elevator tower will be? And what building is it? Is it bridging both structures?
Yes. So this is the convent school. This is the library. Here's Court Street.
Correct.
So the elevator would be nestled right
Okay.
between those two buildings.
Okay, so then where that addition is, where does that relate to the convent school on this elevation here? Just that,
Right there.
okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I want to point out, you have the mother house. Can you flip that one over? Oh, yes. So the Sisters Wing, it's a building adjacent to the convent school. The L-shaped building. So the elevation that faces the convent school. On the basement level, we're proposing to add additional windows in order to accommodate apartments on that ground floor. And so that's illustrated in this elevation here. You have to provide accessible access to the building, which we currently don't have on that floor.
Parking in front of that?
Yeah, let's go to the mother house. So the mother house, also known as St. Anthony's Convent, the original building on the site, to our knowledge, was designed by Archimedes Russell and built in the 1890s. So it's like a Romanesque style of a building, I believe. And in the 1990s, it had a solarium added onto it. We're proposing just to remove that solarium. It doesn't serve a use for us in our proposed use, and it's disingenuous to the original building. It's not very appropriate. And in doing so, we're looking to expose the original entry on that side elevation, which is still intact. And so we'll bring that back to the exterior, and that will become the accessible means of entry into that building. I'm gonna do the So the elevator and the removal of the solarium are the major building modifications we're proposing. And then I want to point out just some smaller items. So this is the 1958 Franciscan Academy, also known as the Gingerbread School on 2500 Grant Boulevard, also a part of the site. We're looking to add residential units in this building also. It contains a large auditorium and a large gym. So we're proposing to add windows on the backstage portion of the auditorium, and on 2 levels in the gym we'll be inserting a second floor. So yeah, this sheet just illustrates where we're proposing the new windows. The east elevation faces Grant Middle School and Kirkpatrick Street.
I'd just like to sort of conclude a couple of the modifications that were proposed. As I mentioned before, we have talked to the SHPO about all of these, and currently, though they need to see details, of course, in our Part 2 application, we're proceeding forward because they were receptive to these proposals. There is a large, beautiful internal former auditorium in the convent school that we are proposing to restore to its beautiful integrity. And there's a couple other larger spaces that are being retained sort of in exchange for some of the development of the gymnasium where the new windows are going in. So we're finding a balance between these large spaces on campus.
Okay, I'll entertain any comments or questions from the board. I want to remind the board that this is a site plan review and our jurisdiction is to comment. Any comments by any members of the board?
Looks like a great proposal. Are you adding additional pavement, or is there a mitigation factor there?
Any other comments by any other board members? Am I hearing that the board is in favor of this?
Yes, it looks good. It good use of the site. I'm very much for it.
Okay, so the board's comment will be positive. What I will say is, as you make your final decisions as to materials especially, and SHPO's comments will be informed. And then if anything needs to be done, we'll maybe have you come back for another site plan review. But at this point, go for it. Looks great.
You.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, on new business, publicly owned landmark property. This is the Central Tech, this new, soon-to-be STEAM school. Does applicants want to come forward and give your name and address? Sure.
Yes, yes, please.
Jeff Hutzer from LaBella Associates. We're at 316 South Clinton, 13202 in Syracuse. Here to present the STEAM school. Trying to figure out the best way to get that.
Sorry.
Just unplugged. Yep.
Power, yeah, that's.
Okay, I'll keep it to, Kate said I have about 10 minutes. I'll try to keep it to that. Today, we're just going to present our project to rehabilitate and reconstruct the existing building, formerly a school built in 1900, with a large addition in 1930 that included an auditorium. In terms of the team, our actual client is Onondaga County as they're doing this project to lease back to the school district. Working with Archie Wixon there. Also represented in just about every meeting is the city, which is Mary Robeson and Mary Hagerty, who are here today supporting us. The school district, Tom Ferreira, Carmen Malone, Jason Hike, and board member Don Romano. And then for my team, I got Scott Perry and from LaBella, and then Kristen Olson from EDR of Syracuse. Okay. Okay, just real quick. So the process, this building, someone tried to basically renovate the building in the 80s, totally destroyed pretty much inside. Very little left of the building. So we've basically evaluated the building and we're worked with the district on a program to bring STEAM school into this building. A lot of our work involved reprogramming the building, but keeping a lot of the existing spaces intact, and then rehabilitating the facade. In terms of the historic side, we did a very extensive window evaluation, which included pictures and documenting every single window, numbering every window. That was presented to SHPO, and the findings there were that replacement was the only option, which I can talk more about as we got to get into the elevation work. Significant masonry testing. We did sent bricks to Canada, basically, to get tested for their current state, to allow us to do modeling to determine the amount of insulation we could put on the building. In conjunction with Scott, and we did pretty extensive paint color testing too, where we had people come in and peel away the layers of paint and do reporting on not just the interior colors, but also the roof color, even though it's a little hard to see the roof only from a distance. In terms of our approvals, Onondaga County is issuing our permits. New York State Facilities reviews all education projects. They typically issue the permit, but in this case, they're reviewing everything for the programming and all the safety and egress. And then, of course, SHPO. SHPO, we do have a conditional approval. There were 4 items on the conditional approval. 3 have been eliminated, and they are satisfied with those 3. The final one is just the actual selection of suspended ceilings for the interchangeable classrooms. So that's what we're down to. We went back and forth with them on comments. The initial came back with about 13 or so comments that we addressed, and we were down to a few, and now we're down to 1, and they're very satisfied. Okay, just the exterior scope. South Warren, the primary facade, and East Adams. The back of the building faces the ITC High School, and the other side, this is actually the 1930s edition, faces the Salvation Army property. That is actually, our building is almost like right up to the property line, so our parking is actually at ITC. There's no closer up. Just as I kind of get into the drawings, and it's a lot easier to see on these pictures, but this facade for us is truly a restoration. We're not doing anything new here other than, and I'll show it on the site plan, we are putting a small handicap ramp to get us up to the platform at the door level. And a lot of that had to do with the district and I think the city, everybody wanting to have accessibility at the primary entrance that everybody else is going to. There are a lot of options that we looked at to do it somewhere else, but I think the best direction was to get people out of the same door if they're going to go to the auditorium and see a show. Our restoration work, there's things like these balustrades at the top of the building that are getting replaced. There's damaged ones through here. And then masonry work, complete repointing.
Are those replacements going to be in kind?
All in kind, yeah. And actually surprising to us even, until we got onto the project, these up here, this whole section here, at the top, they're all metal. So those will all be replaced in kind. And those are all part of will be part of our roofing contract. There's actually all the roofing frames right into those. Other masonry work really consists of repointing. The building's actually in better shape considering what you see on the inside. The outside is in pretty good shape. We have some significant cracks here and there, but all those are addressed in the repointing. And then the window replacement, what was presented to SHPO was Marvin, wood, aluminum clad exterior, custom to match all the existing jamb, sill, and head details. So we're basically replicating that in a Marvin window. The existing windows on evaluation, they're just deteriorated everywhere. And then on top of that, we are dealing with hazardous materials on those windows as well. It was a losing battle no matter what we did. I will note that over in the 1930s building, there are some existing aluminum frame windows, or metal steel frame that we were able to provide a aluminum low profile that matches that has insulated glass in it as well to SHPO, and they had approved that as well, part of our submission. Okay, next couple slides are the drawings. I sent a little higher def versions because they're going to be hard to see, but I'll just kind of scroll through. I think what I want to get to first is the plaza here. This is South Warren, East Adams. So essentially what we're doing is right now at the front doors, there's a couple steps. We're going to extend that out, and by getting a quick switchback ramp here, we can get everybody right up to plaza level. They'll get inside the doors. We do have some trickery once we get in there. They have to take a small lift to get up to the main level. There's a lot of things going on in this building. The original building is actually 3 feet off of the 1930s edition because they based the floor levels of the 1930s edition on the stage when they did the auditorium. So everything's a little off. But this does allow us to get in the building, and in terms of accessibility, because it's been a thing that we obviously are passionate about, want to make sure we're addressing. There's 2 elevators in this building to get people to every single level. Because again, we're dealing with a lot of different levels. A little more detail to switchback, and again, we tried to keep it as simple as possible. Again, just in the lawn here. If there's ever a time in the future that there's someone wants to go in a different direction, this is something that is definitely, we felt was the best and most sympathetic to the facade. Over here, you see this big box here. That's a below grade vault for National Grid, bringing our electrical in. That's existing. We're not touching that. I just wanted to note it. Floor plans, I can skip that. I got a better version for that. You have higher def versions of these, but essentially this, our drawing set, again, it's been reviewed by the county. It's at state ed right now. SHPO has approved this. Again, just calling out all the different masonry work on the facades. Sure, I'm going to stick to, I think what you probably want to see is the auditorium and the main entrance. I'll just stick to those. In general, though, I'll just note that, this was a school. It never really truly got converted to anything else, even though there was an attempt. So the majority of our work was programming spaces into the existing building. There's very little kind of moving walls around. For the most part, we're able to adapt our program to the new building. This is the grade level, or below grade level. And predominantly down here, we have some large spaces that we're using for art, fitness, cafeteria. Probably the most important level in terms of history here, the auditorium level. So this U-shape was the original 1900s building, and then the auditorium, and then this piece ends up coming in 1930. So we don't see that grand historic entrance that we might see in an auditorium in a lot of schools that we're used to. So the entrances are kind of small. They are double doors, but it's not that historic entrance that you're used to. But it's interesting because you can come in at all different levels of this auditorium when you come in. Down here again, just the school programming, music, dance, small theaters. I'm going to get to a picture here of the auditorium. Auditorium balcony, access from the second floor and the third floor. And again, just our classrooms in that L shape all the way around. We have some large spaces in the 1930s that we're using for some of the unique programs like robotics and semiconductor. And the last level, we have our library animation. We can also access into the balcony at this level too, so it's really interesting being able to do this. We had a drone basically on the exterior scan the whole building, and then we did 3D photography and scanning of the entire interior. This is just a shot that you get out of that that I took just to kind of give you an idea of the condition of the auditorium right now. It's pretty bad. A lot of plaster work's needed. The existing light fixtures are destroyed for the most part, but I'm going to show you a picture of what we're doing. But our intent here is restore the auditorium in its entirety. Of course, the technology is much different, so our renderings kind of show that what kind of technology we're adding in here. But the space itself will feel much like it did to begin with. The seating will get replaced. It is again completely deteriorated. Aisle widths do not meet what we need now. Seat widths are very tight. 1900 seat widths are smaller. And then we also are dealing with handicap accessibility and seating locations that we had to fit in. And then we have technology controls and a booth in the back here that we had to fit in as well. Let's get replaced. But I will say we have been working with manufacturers that do major auditoriums, historic renovations, and they in fact even have this almost identical end panels to what we had here. Someone walking in is going to think that we probably restored the seats. They're going to look very original. And this is our balcony. You can see how bad it is. The developer had this idea that he was going to enclose the stage with drywall here, and he had created an atrium in behind there that was going to be part of his property. That all comes out, of course, and we restore the stage, restore the balcony, and all its components. Okay, it's just some of our 3D modeling images. We went back, had the paint colors tested, and used a very similar palette, not just in the auditorium, but throughout the building. We were able to kind of identify some of those early colors and do that. This rendering completely represents where we're going in terms of finishes. You can see our control booth in the back here for the auditorium, lighting and sound and technology. That fixture in the model does actually represent the fixture we were able to find or have made to match what we had here. And of course, we do have to deal with the technology and lighting that we didn't have in the past. A couple images of that. This is from the balcony. Now note here, we are a couple things that are definitely different. Before there was a little rail that went around. It's gone. You saw in the pictures. The district did want to go with glass here, so we don't obscure any of the view down to the stage. The rail that's there is gone anyways. This would be ideal. You're going to see it in the next image, but again, with that accessibility that we're trying to achieve everywhere, the two sides of the stage, we do have little ramps that would get us right up to stage level. So if a student's going to get a diploma, they're going to go right up to the stage. Not going to up. You'd have to deal with things like handrails. Those are additional, of course, safety and egress requirements. And then you do get a glimpse of that little side ramp here, with a little glass panel. And again, that's the primary entrance onto the stage for everybody. Last couple here, I can wrap it up. This is what we're dealing with in terms of those fixtures. There's nothing we can do. This is not only are we missing ones, but the ones we have are just destroyed. So luckily, we're able to work with with the manufacturer. And this is the one we have a manufacturer. It meets the dimensions, the heights, the widths. We'll have all the modern lighting and LEDs that we need. But one of the things we are doing, we have enough parts to make one fixture. So what Shippo's asked us to do is put one fixture back together, and it's going to actually be right in the main office. There's an area with a high ceiling, so when someone's in the building, they'll be able to see that original fixture if they want to. Other one. This is our typical corridor. I just wanted to show this last thing. This is really great stair, ironwork. So that'll all be restored, and then the flooring was all gone. The developer got rid of everything, so that's kind of the new vision, if you will. When you're dealing with that, with egress and things like that, we are putting in some glass doors to create smoke enclosure and stuff like that, but trying to keep it as open as we could. But again, working with that palette throughout the building, color palette, and a lot of really interesting details in this building. I think I have quite a few more, but I won't go in any deeper than that in terms of our images. Pretty much modeled and created images of the entire building for the.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board?
Couple of comments. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Petra.
Oh, I wanted to know, the stage, there's like railings going onto the stage. What is the purpose of those and why are they so? Yes.
Yeah, so this stage is ridiculously wide. It's way wider than we need for performance. So what we have is, originally we had a small set of stairs here on both sides that wouldn't have allowed for the wheelchair access. So we actually have created a ramp that goes up to here, but it doesn't get us all the way up to the stage. So there's a small landing, and it's hard to see in the image, I guess, but the ramp comes up onto the stage a little bit to get us at the right slope to meet the code. But the good news is that this stage is
huge.
What are the existing footprints of the stage?
Original stage, I'm Tom Ferrara from the school district.
Right.
The original stage
Right.
so it doesn't have the side spaces you'd see like at the Landmark or the Civic Center. Challenges that they had to work around.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments for the board?
Front doors? Replace or restore?
Yes, that's what Shippo put their foot down on that one. So ideally, what we wanted to do, to be up front here, we wanted to do FRP wood look, and we've done it in a lot of the school districts. They look pretty good from a distance. But the reality is the security is impeccable, right? We can do anything we want with our hard holes, all that kind of stuff. So we've been basically granted the ability to use those everywhere except for the front. And in the front, we are going to be replacing with wood to match the original doors in that front entrance. And again, we'll deal with the technology and those kind of things on those doors. The doors on East Adams and the back doors and all of our dock doors, they're all going to be FRP. Oh, that's right, I should have known that.
Great. Just for the record, can we get copies of the, or do we have copies of the SHPO approvals?
Not yet, but I'm sure we can get copies of
Yeah.
this.
I can send you the conditional, I should have the final.
Yeah, we just need that for the record.
We don't
Okay.
have the basement level either, do we? The basement level?
Basement is just,
It's in here.
It's where the art was.
Oh, you know what, it's called ground floor? 'Cause it's
Right.
actually- It's only, it's like 6 feet.
right, right. But I think I speak for all the board that this is an exciting project.
Amazing.
And we're very, very happy, and I've got my grandson here. Maybe he can be in school there someday. So, any other questions or comments from the board? Again, our jurisdiction here is to comment.
I had one question. Because there's not much parking, just for the future reference.
Yeah, Tom, do you want to take the parking one?
Well, not necessarily parking, but busing.
Yeah, so the hub is, our high school kids ride in on the central buses. So they'll use the hub, just like
Okay,
they
so only
use.
high school.
Right,
Yeah.
this is,
Oh, okay.
we have ITC next door, and then we'll be putting parking gates up at some point. Right now, ITC, we have enough parking there, but when this opens, and then we'll be working with the city, we'll be probably leasing spaces in the garage or the lot across the street for faculty.
Okay, great.
Are we losing any seats in the auditorium?
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's the numbers, man. Where we at, Scott?
The original auditorium had somewhere just under 1,700 seats.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Correct.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Perfect. Well, then I think, I'm sure our comment will be exceedingly positive.
Absolutely.
Okay. No other comments? Thank you very much.
That would
Okay,
be great. Thanks so much.
Okay, before we get to the National Register nominations, we'd like to go back to CA-23-27, the certificate of appropriateness at 945 Comstock Ave. I open up the discussion to the board for comments.
I have a comment on the roof of the sunroom. Is that, we don't have any north or south elevations that show window fenestration patterns? Does that hip roof impact any second floor windows? Go, transferring from a flat roof to a hip roof? I see the south, but I didn't see sunroom. Maybe, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Okay, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
that's why I didn't see it. Okay.
Yep, okay, so those aren't impacted, okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Let's see.
board's option are to hold this application open, or to approve, or to deny.
The, excuse me, the board can also approve in part and deny in
Correct.
part as well.
Thank you.
The setback of the garage, so the garage is contested, it's within the setback. What is that setback dimension, and how far is it in the?
It's 30 feet.
It's 30 feet.
Because it's 30 feet because it's on a corner lot.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that is considered the front, that acorn, they're two front yards.
Has this been to zoning yet?
I'm sorry?
Has that issue been discussed with zoning?
Yes, zoning is aware of the fact that the parking, yeah,
It's
but
an
it's a pre-existing.
It's a pre-existing condition that
Yeah.
has been allowed to remain as is.
As is. Mm-hmm.
Any other comments from the board? Whoops. I, for one, will comment on the fact that the parking and the extent and size of the parking, I do believe, far exceeds what is acceptable according to Secretary of Interior standards. It's just not applicable, or not appropriate, rather, to the district. That's my comment.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay.
I do have just a quick clarification. The plans say, that we've been talking about, or rather, the presentation was to remove the garage, but it does say in the plans, or actually on the sheets, that on the drawings, that pending financial, yeah, if it's, well, whether or not that it meets the budget. So we need to be clear, or the board needs to be clear on what it's actually voting for. Is it a removal or retention? Removal, okay.
What's the board's comment on removal of the garage?
I personally don't believe that the garage, although it's been there a long time, is historically significant. Certainly when this house was built, that was not the norm to have a attached garage. Most of the houses in this district would have had a freestanding garage. So I don't believe it's historically significant.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing the board say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that as far as the application goes, the board is in agreement with the application with the following exceptions. The parking is not appropriate as it's proposed, and the demolition of the garage would not, this board would not be opposed to the demolition of the garage?
Correct.
Okay. So if that's the case, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the,
Sorry, just a question. With the demo of the garage, would that then become parking spaces?
we don't know that yet. That's something they'd have to do.
Site plan just indicates there's a sidewalk that cuts through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the intent would be to
Okay, so if in fact I'm reading the board correct, we're looking for a motion to approve the application without the approval of the parking. So if somebody wants to make that motion?
I move that we approve the application without the parking that is proposed for the rear of the yard.
We have a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, who seconded it? I didn't, Kyle or Petrona?
Kyle
Okay.
or Petrona?
Yes.
Which? Any further discussion on the motion?
So we're good with the window replacement, all building modifications on the interior?
One thing,
Further discussion?
Making sure we run through the list.
yeah, I'm glad that they're replacing the windows in the right area, putting them back where they should be, yes. I do not want them to use vinyl windows. We don't approve vinyl windows. The Marvin, with the wooden windows with the aluminum clad is fine.
Okay, so are we looking to amend the motion?
I am.
Okay, can you give us an amendment to the motion?
Okay. Approval with Marvin windows, wooden windows, aluminum clad, no vinyl windows used throughout the house. That's the amendment.
Okay, and Petrona, do you agree with that amendment?
Yes, with that one, and I do have a.
Okay, let's do it one at a time. So we're voting on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? The amendment is now part of the original motion. Petrona?
Apologize because I was late. But as far as the first floor bedroom, are we in agreement with that?
That is not our jurisdiction.
Okay.
But the windows,
Yes.
my
Yeah.
understanding is that the windows will be replaced
Correct.
in their original
Yes.
positions.
Correct.
Yes.
And
That
yeah.
is it.
Yes.
So we have an amended motion that's been made and seconded. Yes?
Sorry, Don, before
Counsel?
you vote, I just want to have you clarify in the motion and to have the applicant clarify, if you're voting that the removal of the garage is optional, yes, go ahead with the motion. But if you're voting that it is going to be removed, the applicant responded that at this point, the plan is. So I just want your motion to be clear. Do you care if they don't remove the garage?
Board? No. Board does not
So
see.
either way.
Right, either way. Okay, any other further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the last item on the agenda, or second to last item on the agenda, we have 2 nominations for the National Register. Those packets were all sent out. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to review.
And this would just be comment presumably in the affirmative for both of these nominations from the Landmark Preservation Board back to the State Preservation Office.
I would say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they're two.
Yes on both, yes.
Yep.
Well written.
Yes, very, very good.
Very, very nice job on the reports.
Very nice job. And the last item on the agenda is, I see something, discussion correspondence?
Nope, nothing
Okay,
there.
all right. Board elections. As the board knows, this is my last meeting. And, yes, it is. And so I formally put forth the nomination for Julia as chair and Jeff as vice chair. So we need a second. Any discussion? Anybody else looking to run? God forbid. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Do I
well,
abstain?
No, you don't have to stay. And, well, it's been a long run.
Don't you have to serve 35 years? Isn't that?
It's been a long run, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss people on the board. I'm confident, very confident, with the people that are being retained on the board, as well as the new members. We're leaving the mayor with a good board, a solid board. And I think, Mayor, the floor is yours.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you all. I wanted to make sure I was here for this occasion. As we just heard, Don, it's your last meeting, and wanted to formally thank you for your many years of service to the board. Also wanted to recognize that we have Bob Haley here, and wanted to recognize Bob's service to the board. So Bob, if you can just come up here.
Bob and Tom and Dan.
Where's? Oh, hey, come on.
Tom.
Where's? Oh,
And then Dan's back here hiding.
hey guys, how are you? Great. Well, good to see all of you guys, and certainly appreciative of everyone's service. I do specifically have with me two proclamations that I'd like to read. So let's, Bob, let's start with you. Hint, hint. All right. First proclamation reads, whereas Robert Bob Haley Jr., a lifelong resident of Syracuse, has dedicated his professional life to creating quality, sustainable environments for the betterment and enjoyment of individuals and communities. And whereas after studying architecture at Syracuse University and the University of Oregon, Haley returned to Central New York to make his mark at local architecture firms including Huber, Harris, Glavin, McAfee, Mallow, Lebensold, Affleck, and Nickel Architects. Well, before my time, these are new to me. Quinlan, Perrick, and Kraus, know that one, QPK, and Ashley McGraw, of course, architects, now continuing in private practice since 2009. And whereas throughout his career, Haley has been dedicated to educating others serving on the faculty at Colgate University and Syracuse University, including as director of Syracuse University's London program in architecture, and has been a visiting critic and lecturer at Cornell University and the Bartlett School of Architecture at the University College of London. And whereas Haley in private and professional life is committed to civic engagement, I can attest to that, co-founding the Urban Design Center of Syracuse in 1999 to be a design and planning resource for the community, co-founding Rethink 81 to grapple with the most important design and planning issues facing Syracuse, and was instrumental in developing design concepts that were the basis of the community grid, which was adopted by New York State Department of Transportation as its preferred alternative for the I-81 project. Right. We're here. Not done yet. Whereas Haley brought his talents as a practicing architect, educator, and civic leader to bear when he was appointed by Mayor Roy Bernardi in 1996 to the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board, serving over 27 years on the board, the majority of which he served as vice chair, using his architectural skills, deep knowledge of, and love for the city's history and historic neighborhoods to help guide applicants through the design review process. And whereas Haley has been a tremendous asset to city preservation staff, generous with his time and talents, and invaluable as a keen eye on the street, a role that the staff hopes he will continue into the future. No doubt about it. And whereas Haley remains an advocate for community and people-centric urban planning and design, and his work as an architect, urban planner, and preservationist have had a lasting impact on the city of Syracuse. Now, therefore, I, Ben Walsh, Mayor of the city of Syracuse, hereby proclaim the second day of November 2023 to be Bob Haley Day in the city of Syracuse. You got it. Okay, one more. As we know, these two gentlemen were side by side for many years, and so it wouldn't be right unless we acknowledge Don and Bob together. So, Don, without further ado, whereas Don Radke earned his bachelor's degree from Mundelein College, now Loyola University, that sounds more familiar, and completed postgraduate work at Syracuse University and Onondaga Community College. And whereas in 1976, Radke completed his Graduate Realtors Institute certification and entered the real estate business, working as a sales and project manager for Verbeck Estates Limited, as president and partner of Caldwell Banker First Properties, and as manager of Egan Real Estate, going on in 1990 to start his own real estate firm, FM Realty Group. And whereas Mayor Tom Young appointed Radke to the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board in 1993, and in 1996, familiar year, he was elected chair to the board, a position that he retained by the unanimous consent of his fellow board members for the remainder of his tenure on the board. And whereas Radke, with Robert's rules in his hip pocket and the occasional reminder of one conversation at a time, created a professional and collegial atmosphere at board meetings, assuring that every applicant or visitor to the board would be treated in a respectful, fair, and equitable manner. And whereas in addition to the countless individual design reviews, Radke's tenure saw the adoption of the Berkeley Park Preservation District and 30 successful protected site nominations, as well as the adoption of a new city preservation ordinance. And whereas Radke is also a longtime member of the past president of the Focus Greater Syracuse Board of Directors and has served as president of the George and Rebecca Barnes Foundation, and most recently, he was appointed to a seat on the Onondaga County Planning Board. And whereas Radke's remarkable service to the citizens of Syracuse as chair of the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board will have a lasting impact on the city's preservation program and on the stewardship of the community's historic assets. Now, therefore, I, Ben Walsh, Mayor of the City of Syracuse, hereby proclaim the second day of November 2023 to also be Don Radke Day in the City of Syracuse. Congratulations, Don, and thank you. And the last thing I'll say is, again, I see former board members here, I see former staff here, and just wanted to recognize everyone for their service to this board. I couldn't help but to think when I was reading about the Barnes Mansion on James Street, for any of the followers of Syracuse history, how brutal has the recent post been highlighting all of the beautiful mansions that have come and gone from James Street. But I have no doubt that if it wasn't for all of the folks in this room, we would be lamenting the loss of many more buildings. So thank you all for your service, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I do want to just say, Bob, you taught me everything. So thank you very much.
I want to thank the mayor, and I want to thank all the staff. Qualities, education, talents, arts, social. This part of our history, we don't want to lose it. All those who care about this matter.
Both all be remiss if we didn't thank our staff, Kate, Heather, Caitlin isn't here, but anybody who's happen without staff. This doesn't happen without their work. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
We got to adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion adjourned.
Yeah, there's a camera here,
Yeah.
any other camera?
Yeah.
That's good.
You're the new-